Now I'm pleased to invite Tan Sri Prof. Dzulkifli Abdul Razak, the Rector of International Islamic University in Malaysia. So I have two questions for you. Number one, Malaysia has recently adopted a national fourth industrial revolution strategy. Can you briefly share some of the strategies? This is number one. Question number two is, how has the pandemic outbreak affected the use of ICT in Malaysian education ecosystem? Please, sir.
Thank you very much, Prof. Hassan, and thank you very much for the organizers for having me. This questions, I think, is very pertinent to Malaysia because just last year, I think the government initiated the first meeting on the summit, and this would call the Digital Economy and Fourth Industrial Revolution Council that is intended, number one, to improve the country's capacity in optimizing 4IR technological advances, and number two is to ensure the growth of digital economy in line with Shared Prosperity Vision 2030, which is the government long-term vision, which includes education and also sustainable development agenda. This is the highest body as far as administration is concerned that takes into consideration policies, implementation, and also monitoring some of the strategies. Now, the strategies, I think, is crafted in what we call the governance structure of these activities. This is a structure that is chaired or headed by the Prime Minister himself. He is the chair for these activities, and there are 6 strategies that actually the country is focusing on. Number one is about digital talent, and this is where I think it is also what we call headed by the Ministry of Human Resource. We have got also strategies on digital infrastructure and data, which is headed by another minister on multimedia and also communication. And there's a strategy on emerging technology, which is headed by Ministry of Science and Technology. Strategy on economy by the Ministry of International Trade and also Society, and last but not least, government, which is headed by the Chief Secretary of the government. Now, all these strategies are what is called participated by various organizations, various ministries, so that we have got a kind of an inclusive idea of what we need as far as the country is concerned. And this is, I think, a very participatory kind of an activities that is seen across the country. Now, what do we have from this? Basically, there are a number of things that they are targeting. Let me try and illustrate 3 things that they are looking at. One is, how do technology or digital economy helps the country in the context of the people at large. I mentioned about the Shared Prosperity Vision, and this Shared Prosperity Vision basically focus on the people well-being and the people welfare. So under this strategy, I think the government has promised to create about 500,000 new jobs over that period of 10 years that we talked about. They are also envisaging that almost the household will be accessible to internet, be it rural or the urban areas, the divide that we see today. And last but not least, I think which is most important for me, is students getting access into online learning and other technological advances as far as getting education is concerned. So this is a very holistic idea of trying to infuse technology into the society as such, and also making students particularly more technology savvy in this particular respect. On the context of government, I think one of the very targets that they've got is the same thing. They want to make civil servant, 100% of the civil servant becomes digital literate in this particular sense, using mainly the sort of mechanism in running governments as far as in Malaysia is concerned. And 80% they envisage that end-to-end online government services with all ministries and agencies to provide cashless payment option by the year 2022. And last but not least, as far as the government is concerned, they envisage also the use of cloud storage across the government by the year 2022. These are really very ambitious ideas, but moving from where we are, I think some of the ideas will probably be able to be realized as been targeted. Last but not least, I think that the most important one when people talk about economy and business, and particularly given the pandemic era that we are facing. So how do government wants to uplift this? And I think they have made, for example, in terms of target, 30% uplift in productivity across sectors by the year 2030, where we talk about the shared economy vision, and about 20% of the digital economy of Malaysia will contribute to Malaysian GDP. And again, we are trying to attract, or at least they say they're trying to attract at least 2 unicorns as far as technology is concerned, moving it from either homegrown or technology or even foreign technology to make sure that the unicorns are basically contributing to economy at the same time. And last but not least, I think 70 billion Malaysian ringgit is now being invested in getting digitalization in across the country. So this is a kind of a macro attempt to get the country moving into technology, and particularly technology that helps not only the welfare of the people. And that's why I'm very keen to see that you also have got a section on ICT, on well-being and happiness. There are some areas that I think that have been not talked about, and given the post-COVID, where mental health becomes a bigger problem that is normally not tackled within the projects of ICT as such. As far as the second question, I think it relates very much to the first question. I think suddenly we realize that the infrastructure of the country, it is still not up to par in the context of giving technology to students, particularly in the rural areas when there is a pandemic of this nature. There's a lot of disruption in this group of people where they are sometimes not able to contact their schools, or connectivity is not there. When there are connectivity is there, sometimes the setting, the whole house structure is not meant for online learning as such. And therefore, there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of disruption, and there's a lot of frustration at the same time. And all these, I think, are now being taken into this strategy that we talked about. How do we mend this as quickly as possible, closing the gap, making sure that education progresses the way we want to, particularly for the marginalized and also the vulnerable groups. So I hope this is a kind of a picture that Malaysia are able to present. Certainly we are moving slowly into this, but connections like this or networks like this hopefully will help us to go into the future in a better and a consistent way. Thank you very much, Hassan.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Prof. Zul, for sharing those views. I just want to get some idea about how well the people are accepting the initiative taken by the government. Like, I mean, the people's how well the people are responding, people as well as the institutions responding to this initiative.
I think the people are quite excited, but most of them have also a kind of a skepticism in the sense that they themselves are not IV savvy. So the question that you asked from the first speaker, I think is very relevant to us, to make sure that IT is basically a second nature to them. I mean, the younger generations are into it, the older generations becomes a little bit more difficult to deal with. And this is where I think universities are playing its role. How do we then get people to be inducted into technology? And our university, for example, are doing a lot of work on micro-credentialing, so that other people can hook on into the university and learn as much as possible about IT and reduce their anxiety as far as IT is concerned. So that is some of the areas that we are thinking of. And in fact, during the pandemic, our university has created a mini robot to help rural folks to analyze and diagnose diseases that is related to them when there is no personnel at all. So these are the issues I think that now is relevant to us in the midst of this pandemic.
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Zul.